Yeah, Adam or James, anything that kind of started as a side or a small idea, but then became something that was, a really relevant part of your portfolio career?
Music was my side project until lockdown.
Yeah.
I touched on it earlier about Patreon, but within that, there were so many other things that I learned along the way to create what was the business. It was like learning how to use Photoshop for putting pictures on social media, learning how to use After Effects for animating stuff. There was setting up a website because I didn't like the way that Patreon had their business model, because a lot of people just keep everything uploaded. They just once a month just upload. So the first subscriber you have pays, let's say, £10 a month, and they're on it for a year. But if someone joins a year later, they pay £10 a month for everything you have. So I just didn't really agree with the model. So I set up a website where basically on Patreon it's monthly refreshed, and then it goes onto my website when that month is over at a slightly higher price. So I wanted people to be in that moment live that month with the content and be interactive with other people that are downloading it as well. So setting up the website, so there's so many just ins and outs, and I dove headfirst into all of this new education, and just it gave me the love back of when I first started making music and self-teaching myself, and just like I have friends who have like After Effects, they're designers and stuff, so I can just phone them up and be like, I want to know how to do this, but I don't know what the terminology is to Google it. So I'm kind of just stuck, and they're like, okay, just click this, and then I'm just away. So, and I just like loved just jumping back into that. And it got me inspired to make music as well, because I was accountable every month. And one of the benefits I had was a track a month, which was ridiculous. But for a year I went through it, and it was the pressure to create video content, samples, presets, and a track. And that just kind of gave me a kick up the arse, and like really kind of just like got me in the flow of it. I then changed it and changed some of the benefits around, with, Chris, you were talking about like teething problems that comes with any project, and sometimes you have to take things away to put more time into other things. Some things are way more time constrained and won't work for a longer period of time. So everything has to get rearranged, and you're working out as you go along. But when you've got people that are paying, you have to be very transparent about what's going on. You're like, I'm taking this away, I'm going to put this up, and just hope that the audience will stick with you through that and appreciate what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm most interested in that period where you were doing it as, music was this side project. In that period before it was something that was sustaining you or bringing in financial benefit, how it was with it being a big part of your life then, but it not being something that could contribute to your income or contribute to you, paying your way in life.
Yeah, it was just pocket money. I never, from the start, I was always like, I know I'm not going to make money from this. I know this isn't going to be a career. I had that embedded in me.
Yeah.
So when there was another avenue, I didn't know what that was going to be, but I wanted to try it out, but I didn't know where music was going to take me. I just wanted to write and perform, and that's what was going on at that time. So it was all just happened out of lockdown. So I don't know if I would have had that if it wasn't for lockdown. So there's a big benefit there for me.
Yeah. And quitting your job to pursue something that is maybe only starting to bring in, like you say, pocket money, seems like it might be quite a big leap of faith. How big was that leap of faith in that moment for you, or how sure were you that it was going to be financially sustainable?
It was already financially sustainable. It was before I was doing Patreon. Gigs were sporadic. I was earning good money from gigs, but it wasn't enough to quit my job. But then with Patreon, within the first year, I was earning a decent amount of money, more money than I was earning from carpentry. And I was like, I spend all my time a week doing carpentry and I'm earning less money from it. And I'm like, sometimes we're working on a building site, not even doing carpentry, and we're outside and I'm cleaning a bucket in the rain and it's like 2 degrees. I'm like, I don't need to be here anymore. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I enjoy it. But then it was that jump to be like, I can do this, and it is, it's kind of like, it is sustainable. The numbers are plateauing, they're stable, so I'm going to give it a go. And I told my friend, I was just like, I could come back and work. He was like, yeah, come back anytime. And I still do odd jobs for him. I go down to London, spend a couple of weeks because I love doing it. But I had that security. I know a lot of people wouldn't be able to have that so much security if they were to quit their job. They wouldn't be able to come back. So I was in a very fortunate time that I could kind of play around with it.
Yeah. So waited until that sustainability was clear before transitioning.
Yeah, and it was clear for about 6 months, but again, it's like stable money over something that could change overnight. I think sometimes you just have to take a bit of a jump on that.
Awesome. And Chris, casting your mind back to when you and Dan started going into DC Breaks, what was that transition from? I presume, were you still at university then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so still at uni. I was in Edinburgh and I moved to Bristol, and I didn't know what I was going to do for a real job, and music was still very much a hobby at that point. It definitely wasn't making enough money from it. Tried different stuff, ended up in kind of sales. I ended up meeting a guy who I worked with for about 8 years, and that was working on a surfing website, as in like the water sports surfing. And it was only actually when they got bought out and my job got made redundant that I ended up doing music full time, because I enjoyed it. Was a job that I did from home. It was like really flexible, and I was able to kind of juggle my music and my job quite easily. But there was a moment I remember when my boss called me, and I was on a plane going to Ibiza, and I took the call and I was like, no, blah, blah. And then he's like, wait a minute, where are you? And then it was like, ladies and gentlemen, can you please fasten your seatbelt? And I literally just had to hang up. And I just it was like mortifying. And I'd lie to him, and not a proud moment, but it highlighted the fact that my career started to go in one direction, and it was kind of starting to become a bit of an issue with my job.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was, and then, by the way, I wasn't made redundant because of that. That was like a completely separate thing.
It'd be okay if you were.
Several years later, when that happened, I was fortunate enough that the music had taken off. We just kind of had an album licensed through Virgin, and we were busy to the point where losing the job wasn't a total nightmare. It was like a bit of a moment to think, actually, can I do this? But I'd got enough momentum at that point to go, okay, yeah, I can actually do that. And then I was doing music full time for another 5-6 years before the pandemic came along. So it was kind of, I was almost forced into it a little bit, but I made that decision not to go out and try and find another job to do it, and I was going to focus on music full time.
Yeah. And again, same question, at that transition point, how clear was the sustainability of what you were moving into with music?
It felt very stable, because we'd had a sizable advance from a major label, and we were gigging enough, and we were on the radio a lot at that time, and it felt like so long as we kept doing what we were doing, we would be able to sustain it, and we'd kind of got that momentum basically. And I think momentum's such an important thing to get as an artist, and then once you've got it, you've got to really just kind of keep it going. So at that point, I was actually thinking, if I spend my time that I would otherwise be doing my sort of day job doing music, I'll actually even be able to kind of elevate things and have more time to put into the music, and I wouldn't be trying to do my job and fly to different places to do gigs, and kind of managing that stress as well.
Okay, great. And just could you clarify some of the examples that come to your mind when you think of having momentum as an artist?
Yeah, really. For the music that I make, drum bass, it's about having a pipeline of releases, I think, and just having that continual presence that you're always kind of, visible, basically. And there's a lot of people releasing music all the time. But if you have regular releases on an established label or established labels, that's, maybe it's not quite like that so much anymore, but certainly at the time it was like, if you've got those string of releases, that's what people are seeing, and it puts you in a certain bracket, I guess, and people then want to see you play and hear those tunes, and they're hearing you on the radio, and it's all those things kind of contribute to you being kind of in demand, I guess. And as soon as that dries up, you can, there's a bit of a longer tail where you're kind of living off maybe previous success a little bit, but it can be quite hard to get momentum back if you kind of let it slip a little bit.